So in this lesson we're going to look at cause and effect graphic organizers, and we're going to look at 4 different kinds. We're going to look at simple cause and effect, multiple causes, multiple effects, and finally cause and effect chains. So let's get started. Alright, and so in this first one, I want you to keep in mind that, cause and effect graphic organizers are very, very hard for teachers to make effectively because it's different every time, right? It's not like a KWL plus chart that's this kind of graphic organizer that you could use for almost anything that you would read. It's also not like a compare and contrast graphic organizer like the ones that I give you, or a Venn diagram. And again, those you could use for almost anything you read. Cause and effect is usually different than that. Okay, so we're going to start with a very simple cause and effect graphic organizer, and then you're going to see that all the other ones that we do kind of build off this. So we just look at, we see something happen, cause, and then, we see its effect, right? And then what we need to do is kind of fill in, what caused it, or how it caused. Okay, so look at what caused it or how caused it. Okay, and very often when I'm reading, I'll notice one of these things, and sometimes I won't quite know if it's a cause or an effect until I read on, and then I have to really work in and say, what was the cause, or how was this thing caused, or what, how did this effect come about? Okay, so building up from that, then we can take a look at a situation where we have multiple causes, right? So I'm reading along and I see some event happen, and I think, what caused that? And so once I think to myself, what caused this? Then I know that I have an effect, right? Once I've noticed, what caused this, okay? And sometimes there are multiple causes, right? So I go back through the thing I've read and I notice, cause number 1, cause number 2, cause number 3. And again, it becomes this, what or how. And again, I can't give you these kinds of graphic organizers ahead of time. All I can do is teach you how to make them yourself. Because, maybe you and I read the same thing, and you might not see this as a cause. You might see this as something completely unrelated, and you and I could possibly disagree in our interpretations and our reading and still come out with a perfectly good reading of the text that we're looking at. So again, I can't give you this and say, okay, find 3 causes. Now, in some assessments in this class, I will give you one and say there are 3 causes here and I want you to find them, but that would only be in a testing environment. That wouldn't be in a real life reading environment that we would naturally do. So again, that's the multiple causes type of scenario. We can also have multiple effects, right? So again, I'm reading something and I notice some event, and then later on I notice that there were quite a few different things that came out of that event. Okay, I notice, this happened. I notice that this happened. Let's say, there's a car wreck, and, what happened to the 3 different things, 3 different people that happened, as a result of this car wreck, right? This person lost his job, this person died, this person, was perfectly fine, right? So then I notice, this now is the cause, okay? And so then I kind of work forward this time, see what or how. Sometimes this requires me to make inferences too, okay? a writer or a speaker won't necessarily always tell us, what the cause was or how it was caused. Sometimes we have to make inferences or dig a little bit deeper. Okay? But again, I noticed that there was an event, and then I noticed multiple things that happened as a result of that. So I can figure out, what the cause is and what the effects are. Okay. Sometimes too, we have what we call a chain of cause and effect, right? So, I might notice that something happens, and then I notice that there's an effect of it, right? We call this event 1, event 2, event 3, event 4, and event 5. I think, aha, this was a cause for this, right? So you're getting what or how. But then, this was an effect, but then I noticed that this causes this. Okay, so that's an effect. But then I also noticed that this causes something else. I mean, we see this all the time when we're reading narratives, right? We have something that causes something else, but then that something causes something else. And again, this is why I can't necessarily give you cause and effect graphic organizers. I can just kind of show you how to make them and ask you to make them yourself as you read. And this doesn't even get into the possibility that, event 2 might cause event 3, but it also might be a cause for event, 5. When we read particularly complex literature, or we look at particularly complicated scientific interactions or historical interactions, we might notice that there are, multiple relationships that go on with these things. So again, I can't really give you these the way I can with KWL plus charts. I can just kind of show you how to make them themselves. And sometimes even we have what we call a feedback loop. I know this is starting to look a little bit crazy, but sometimes event 5 can then end up causing event 1. This is what we call a feedback loop. So it's not always so simple as a simple cause and effect graphic organizer, but if you can kind of master this basic idea, then you can make your own. And so there it is, the lesson's complete. And remember, cause and effect is often too complicated for a simple graphic organizer that's pre-made by me. So learn to make your own. You'll be able to follow complicated reasoning more effectively in literature, history, science, art, all kinds of things. All right? Thanks.